All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are continuing the Beatles re-listen series. We are now on to Beatles for Sale, their fourth album released in, when did this one come out? 1964, same as the last one. This is the album, apparently, where the Beatles started listening to Bob Dylan, and they started getting a ton of inspiration from him. Now, I do have to say, I prefer Bob Dylan to the Beatles greatly. I did not enjoy this album at first. I gave this album like a 6 when I first listened to it. I thought this album was quite mid. I thought it was an incredibly, not even a mixed bag, it's just a collection of mid songs from what I remember, like the Beatles kind of just not being anywhere near as interesting as the past couple albums. But the reminder that this has a bunch of Bob Dylan influence does give me a little bit of hope, because I do much prefer the Bob Dylan to the Beatles. I do think that Bob Dylan is a far more interesting artist. So I'm going into this with a bit of hope that that influence can kind of make this album feel a little more interesting than I initially thought on a first listen. Yeah, as I said, came out in 1964, 14 tracks, 33 minutes. Let's just get into this. I feel like there's no need to blabber too much. Let's just run this shit. Track 1, No Reply. And apparently half of these are covers.
This happened once before, when I came to your door. No reply. Your door. If I were you, I'd realize that I love you more than any other guy. With another man in my place. No reply. No reply.
I really appreciate this as an opener. I would give this a high 7. I love the juxtaposition created between the super soft verses and the incredibly explosive and angry chorus on this track. Also, the chords throughout this song kind of give it a much more of a feeling of sorrow, as opposed to a lot of the more upbeat and colorful love songs that we've gotten on the previous albums. I'm liking that this album is kicking off on a little bit more of a somber note. Yeah, it's a very, very much an interesting way to start this, and it's giving me hope. The fact that we're starting on a track that is as strong as this. Good shit. Very solid. I'm a Loser up next.
I'm a loser. I'm a loser. And I'm not what I appear to be. Of all the love I have won or have lost, known she would win in the end. I'm a loser, and I lost someone who's near to me. I'm a loser, and I'm not what I appear to be.
Yeah, this album is immediately so much more interesting. Like, it feels like they're actually taking some pretty decent steps forward in terms of how they're building these tracks up, the different elements of like texture that they're implementing, the much more percussive sounding acoustic guitars, how nice and dusty that harmonica sounds. It's less clean, and I like that. It feels like they're actually trying to flip the script on what the Beatles sound is here, and I think they're doing it in a way that is genuinely tasteful, in a way that's a lot more interesting than A Hard Day's Night was. It's immediately setting itself up to be something that is not going to be just the Beatles that we already know. This does feel legitimately like a piece of progression, and this track in particular is just catchy as hell on top of that. It's got one of the most satisfying vocal melodies I've heard on an early era Beatles track. I love, again, the juxtaposition between the verses and the chorus as well. On top of that, just some of the most fun and engaging lyricism that we've gotten from a song since, like, with the Beatles, in my opinion. I would give that a solid 8. Good shit. Very solid track. I mean, immediately this is off to a better start than I remember. Originally, I gave both of these opening songs like either a 5 or a 6, and now I'm giving them like a high 7s, solid 8. I'm enjoying this way more this listen immediately. Babies in Black. Next.
Oh dear, what can I do? Baby's in black and I'm feeling blue. Tell me, oh, what can I do? Oh dear,
All of their haircuts and shit. The only one that looks even a little bit decent is Paul McCartney. The rest of them look like fucking tools.
what can I do?
It's impressively shit. Like, how do you do that with your hair? I know.
And oh, it's only a whim. She thinks I'm
Paul McCartney's hair looks decent. The rest of them just look bad.
she sees the mistake.
Like poor Ringo with that bowl cut, dude.
What can I do?
None of them look like Maynard to you. Jesus Christ.
What can I do? I'm feeling blue. Tell me, oh, what can I do?
Another solid song. A fun, swingy 3/4 track, well, 6/8 track that, I don't know, sees the band kind of tapping back into the earlier swingy stuff they were doing whilst working in more of, again, the more percussive acoustic textures into this track. Some fun electric guitar parts throughout the song as well. Just an overall solid, decently catchy one. 7.5 for me. Good shit. 3 solid tracks to kick this off. I'm liking this so far, man. This feels, again, legitimately like the Beatles are taking a step forward. Like they're not retreading the same ground in the same way they were on the previous album. It's them, obviously, taking a very big influence and still putting their own spin on it and using that influence instead of just adding it on to an already massive list of influences, kind of tapping into that to explore something new. And I'm really appreciating that. Rock and roll music.
Just let me hear some of that rock and roll music.
The reason I'm hesitating with these titles is that I can't see them in full until I click on the file.
Any old way you choose it, it's got a backbeat, you can't lose it. Any old time you use it, gotta be rock roll music. If you wanna dance, it's the time you use it.
Yeah, the vocals on this one are great.
Rock roll music.
I will say, this song does kind of have a little bit of the problem of being more of the same.
And in the mood they take a man.
Got some Beatles covers when I start drumming again. This isn't like the style of drumming that I would typically do. Like 50s and 60s rock style. It's not really the typical style that I would play. I'll be down to. Rock and roll music is decent. Feeling a solid 6 on that track. It's fun. It's got some great vocals from John Lennon, but I don't know, the instrumental itself does kind of feel a little bit like we're retreading some of the same ground again in a way that kind of feels like I've heard it on previous Beatles albums, but just a little bit more charming on some of those older songs. It's still fun. I still will say I would not say the song is like bad by any stretch of the imagination. I just prefer some older Beatles songs that kind of do this, and I think that they do it in a way that's just a little bit more engaging that I'm able to get into a little bit easier. I wish that this track was a little bit more in line tonally with some of the other songs as well. I feel like as a piece of the album, it does feel like a pretty random thing to throw in here and is a little out of line with what's been presented so far. I'll Follow the Sun up next.
One day
Oh, it's this song. I remember this.
to see I've gone, for tomorrow may rain, so I'll follow the sun. But tomorrow may rain, so I'll follow the sun.
I don't know if I agree about the melody being awkward. I think it's pretty sweet here. It's definitely a little abnormal, but I don't know if that's a bad thing necessarily.
I'll follow the sun.
Feeling like a high 7 on this one. High 7. Very nice, sweet acoustic ballad. I love the abnormal melody on this track as well. I think that the interplay in that little instrumental section towards the middle is really sweet as well. Just across the board, this song is just sweet, cute. Not my absolute favorite on the album up to this point, but yeah, a solid track regardless. I think I remember this being my favorite on my first listen. And I have to say, I do still really enjoy this song, though it isn't my favorite this time around. Still, solid track. Mr. Moonlight up next.
Mr. Moonlight, came to me one summer night. Mr. Moonlight, come again, please. Here I am on my knees, begging if you please.
This is fucking terrible. This is like legitimately a really fucking bad song. Oh my god. What the fuck is this? This is so flat and monotone and dry. There's no sense of the band even giving a shit here. It's most people's least favorite Beatles song. Understandably, this is fucking miserable. Wow. Okay, this is 7 on my first listen. Don't know what the fuck I was on when I listened to this. This is like truly miserable. Like they just sound like they don't want to be on this song at all. They really are. They're so bad.
Mr. Moonlight, Mr. Moonlight, Mr. Moonlight.
They're not even fucking trying on this song, and as a result, I cannot take this track seriously at all. They aren't trying. They aren't trying. They are just like, hey, we need to record another song, and it doesn't even feel like they like it, you know? It feels like they're just, like, getting through it more so than actually performing, if that makes sense. I am shocked that this made it onto this album. This is a contender for the worst Beatles song so far. It's like a high 2 to, like, a flat 3. Really bad. Genuinely a miserable, miserable piece of music. I cannot believe this made it onto this album. Flat, uninspired, uninteresting, brutal song. I'm shocked. I don't remember any song besides like Little Child going as low as this. But here we are. Wow. Absolute ass. Kansas City. Why are we getting like 2 dog shit songs back to back, man? This fucking sucks as well. A great cover. I'm finding this one to be equally flat, but for the opposite reasons as the previous one. Where the previous song, the band weren't trying. Here it feels like they're overcompensating, and it results in this track just feeling like it's way too busy and like they're trying way too hard to have it be as bombastic and over the top as possible, and it results in this song just reading as annoying more than anything. This was another pretty rough one. I'm feeling a solid 4 on this. Yeah, 2 rough ones back to back. Next up we have 8 Days a Week. Fade In. Interesting. Well, actually, there's 7 days a week. True. the album 8 Days a Week. Yeah, Beatles for Sale is kind of a dog shit title for this album. I've always been confused why it was titled that. They probably explained why they called it that in the anthology and I just forgot. Very fun track. I would give this one like a flat 8. Second best of the album so far, in my opinion. Just a nice, simple, catchy one. Great acoustic guitar tone on this track. I love the electric guitars as well. I love the way they kind of play off of each other. The electric guitars kind of give it a more solid, blocky tone, while the acoustic guitars are a little rougher. And the way they kind of play off of each other and juxtapose each other with the way they're mixed in this track is really sweet. And on top of that, it's one of the catchiest on the album as well. Undeniably. Song fucking slaps. Easily one of the strongest. Words of Love. They called it that because they felt their lives weren't theirs at that point with their stardom and they were for sale. I see. 8 Days a Week would have been a better title still.
Hold me close and whisper soft and true. Darling, I love you.
What are the Beatles sharing in common or get from Buddy Holly? Beatles were super influenced by that 50s rock and roll stuff. I imagine Buddy Holly would have been quite the influence on them. They'll come. Words of Love is a decent track. It's like a high 6 to a flat 7 for me. I'd probably go with the flat 7. I'm feeling generous for this one. Again, similar to a lot of the other tracks. It's cute, simplistic. I like the more acoustic spin that this song has, especially with the claps as well, kind of adding extra little bits of percussive spin to this track. For the most part, I found this... Well, not even for the most part. There are moments of this track that I just found to be a little samey. It felt like this song wasn't all that adventurous and definitely could have been expanded upon a little bit to be a little more interesting and a little more varied. As is, it is still a nice, simple pop track that is catchy enough and is sweet enough, but it felt like it definitely could have done more with its sound that would have made it a little bit more interesting to me. So still solid, but just not the strongest on the album by any means. Honey Don't, up next.
Well, how come you say you will when you won't?
We got a Ringo song.
Well, honey, don't. Honey, don't. Honey, don't. Oh, rock on, George, one time for me.
You can't say rock on, George, one time for me and then cut to this. Oh no. Yeah, this song's rough. This song is very flat. I mean, Ringo's kind of charming on this one, but besides that, the song kind of isn't doing much. George did not deliver.
I'll rock on George for Ringo one time.
Yep, double down on that solo. Listen, this song was not good, but I had a fun time listening to it. I'd give it a 5 for that reason, a low 5. This was a very enjoyable song. Ringo's vocals are awkward as hell. That solo is dog shit. This instrumental is the least confident thing I've ever heard in my life. Not a single member of the band has any confidence in this song. But for that exact reason, it comes full circle and is incredibly enjoyable. So while technically speaking, this song does suck dick, I enjoyed it a lot. So it evens itself out at a low 5 for me. I am very glad this song exists, even if it isn't good at all. I'm very glad the song exists. Every Little Thing. Up next.
When I'm walking beside her, people tell me I'm lucky. Yes, I know I'm a lucky guy. Every little
You believe Paul called this song a little piece of shit? Damn. Cold. I feel the same way about Please Please Me, though. I don't remember much about that album besides, like, Twist and Shout. But that's only because that song is as huge as it is. That album was more distinct. I will say, the back half of this album is not as strong as the first half. We listen for fun, not a video. I mean, I'm going to give them, like, one last listen. Like, as the videos are releasing, I'm going to give them all one last listen again. Like, these aren't the only listens I'm going to give these albums. Each of them, throughout January, I'm going to listen to again one more time as well. For any, like, final updated thoughts or anything like that. Yeah, I have to say, I don't imagine my score on Please Please Me is going to go up all that much. Song's fine. It's a solid 6 for me. It's kind of cute. I like what Ringo does with the toms. I like how massive the toms sound here as well. Yeah, it's got like a great kind of booming presence to them. They sound like timpanis, you know? It gets like a massive booming sound out of them that I really appreciate. But besides that, song's just kind of in one ear out the other. If I'm going to choose an Every Little Thing song, I'm going to choose the Police track, all right? That Police track fucking slaps. This song, kind of mid. Up next we have I Don't Want to Spoil the Party.
I don't want to spoil the party, so I'll go. I would hate my disappointment to show. There's nothing for me here, so I will disappear. If she turns up while I'm gone, please let me know. I wonder what went wrong. I've waited for too long.
Those backing vocals are great, wow.
I think I'll take a walk and look for her.
I don't think the Beatles were industry plants. You know, they definitely had their rise to fame, you know? Will I do past masters after these re-listens? I can't be asked for that shit, man. I'll get to it at some point. Not after the albums, though. I'll get to it at some point. I've already done a good handful of the solo albums at this point that have been turned into videos. All are like the biggest ones. I've not done past masters, and I'm gonna be honest, I kind of don't care about it that much. Like I care about the studio albums. I don't like, I'm not like a Beatles aficionado. I'm not a super fan who wants to like dig deep and pull out every single like hidden track, bonus track, stuff like that. I don't care that much. I'm gonna do all of the studio albums. I'm watching the anthology so that I can kind of get the context behind them as well. I don't care too much about past masters. It's their singles, okay. Doesn't change the fact that I don't care. Do Yellow Submarine? I don't want to do Yellow Submarine either, man. That's like entirely a film soundtrack. I don't care too much about Yellow Submarine. I feel like doing past masters, that's actually milking it. That is actually genuinely milking it. That gets to the point where it's like, okay, that's kind of, there's no point in me doing that. Besides simply just, I want more Beatles stuff because numbers. I really do not care about doing past masters right now. I might do at some point. It's just right now I don't have any intention on doing so because I'm just not in a position where I'm interested. I'm already milking it if I don't have interest in listening to them. I have interest in listening to the albums. I'm very happy to be re-listening to these albums. It's very fun. It's just I'm not like a super fan who wants to like go beyond the albums, if that makes sense. It's like I have the albums that I really enjoy. I don't care too much to dig too much deeper than that, as of right now at least. Maybe after I finish the entire discography, my opinion will change on that. And at some point I do intend on doing it. It's just not right now. I want to wait until I'm like in a position where I'm actually particularly interested in doing so. Anyway, I don't want to spoil the party. Yeah, the back half of this album is definitely not as strong as the front half. I think that while still definitely enjoyable, I feel like the songs on the back half just are nowhere near as engaging and as interesting as the musical variety that we got on the front half of the album. I would give this song like a high 6. It's good. it's solid. It's an okay enough track, but I wouldn't go as far as to say I would, like, even listening to this album, want to listen to that song all the way through, because it just feels, again, like we're retreading a little bit of ground. It's kind of rough, man. Like, the first half of this album was genuinely pretty damn solid, and then this back half has just been a little uninteresting by comparison. Down to the final two. Up next we have, What You're Doing.
What you're doing, so much to ask of you. What you're doing to me, I've been waiting here for you.
That piano is kind of, I don't know how I feel about it. Piano kind of breaks the immersion of this track a little bit, just having this in the background of this song. It's like, what's the fucking point? The song's already pretty densely layered. Like, this song has a lot going on already. The piano just feels like an unnecessary touch. A solid track with a couple of awkward ideas thrown into the mix, like the piano in the background and stuff like that, that just makes the song, I don't know, kind of feel like it's doing too much for the sake of musical variety. I will say, for the most part, I did find myself enjoying this track. I like that really strange verse melody, the way it kind of goes up to some very strange places, and the direction that they take that throughout the track is pretty interesting. And I also do think that this instrumental, for the most part, is genuinely pretty solid. It's nice to get a song that's a little more jangly and kind of a little more adjacent to some of their earlier stuff, but again, being brought to a place that doesn't feel like retreading the same ground, if that makes sense. It gets a solid, low to solid 7 for me, like a 7.3, 7.4. Good song, just a couple of details that I feel like kind of bring it down a decent bit for me, though, as it gets a little bit too busy at points. Final track, Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby.
From a tree, dressed it up and they called it me. Everybody's trying to be my baby. Everybody's trying to be my baby. Everybody's trying to be my baby now. Woke up last night, 4:30, 50 women knocking on my door. Everybody's trying to be my baby. Everybody's trying to be my baby. Everybody's
What do you mean skip?
trying to be my baby now.
It's ass. It's a song on the album. That doesn't mean we need to skip. Doesn't mean we get to skip. It is pretty bad. I will agree with you on that, but we do not skip. No. I've still never done that. I've still never skipped in a reaction. Give it a 0. It's not a 0. It's just like a cruising in 4 out of 10 territory right now. It's not a 0. It's just a little uninteresting is all. Exactly, we'll give it a full taste before giving a verdict. I wouldn't even give this a 4. I wouldn't even say this is like in the negative territory for me. This song's just whatever. Not very notable is how I would describe this song. Unnotable, an inoffensive, harmless, and ultimately forgettable way to close this album. Some okay rock and roll isms, some decent fills, particularly towards the end from Ringo, some solid performances, but a track that does not leave any sense of a lasting impression. It gets a flat 5 from me, ladies and gentlemen. Flat 5 is what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Beatles for Sale by the Beatles. The end of what I would consider the early Beatles era. I feel like as we move past this, as we move into Help, that's when we start moving into the great era. That's when we start moving into the albums that I consider to actually be like the Beatles level of quality, if that makes sense. I have to say that this early era has grown on me a little bit. I've grown to appreciate it a little bit more. I've grown to see it as a much more interesting period in the band's history than I initially thought, even if the actual quality of the albums has not gone up too much in my mind, besides with the Beatles, which I will say has grown on me a decent bit. And I'd say this album I appreciate a little bit more too, to be honest. I think that this album is a little more fun than I initially thought, a little more varied than I initially gave it credit for. It actually is a genuinely pretty notable step forward in terms of the band's sound, abandoning the 50s rock and roll isms for the most part, bringing in some more acoustic, folky elements, obviously very influenced by Bob Dylan, and bringing themselves to a little bit more of a mellow place in terms of their songwriting. And I have to say, I really do appreciate that. I like that the band are at this point now moving forward past what the first three albums were doing, past what the Beatles had set themselves up to be, and they are saying, hold on, we can do more than that. And I think that Help is the first piece where we actually see them taking that into full force. Help is when the Beatles start just becoming the big driving force of the 60s for me. This album is solid, though, I have to say, despite the fact that I think that the back half of the album does get a little more rocky than the first half, despite the fact that I think that this album definitely is not flawless. It definitely still has its glaring issues, like, you get a song like, which song was it? Mr. Moonlight. You get a track like Mr. Moonlight, which is like the worst shit ever. Kansas City as well, I don't think was a great track. A handful of mid-cuts in here as well, like Everyone's Trying to Be My Baby as well. Just a couple of moments that I think bring this album down to being a very much mixed bag, in my opinion. A lot of the covers on here particularly just being very... But for the most part, I will say I did enjoy this listen. I found this to be a pretty fun album to dive into. And the most interesting Beatles album to discuss so far. I feel like I've gotten the actual most to talk about with this album so far. I will say that is definitely a big positive factor for this album. You know, the fact that I have actually had a lot to say about this one, whereas I feel like with the previous albums, it's been just a lot of the same. This has been the most fun one to talk about, in my opinion, so I gotta give it points for that. I'm gonna run the numbers, and I will tell you what my overall score for this album is. Ladies and gentlemen, the calculated score is a 6.5, and I would up that score to like a 6.7, 6.8, probably a 6.7, due to the fact that I think this album has been the most fun to talk about so far, due to the fact that I think this album is a pretty bold step forward for the band, and also just because I will say I genuinely had a pretty fun time talking about this album on the whole, even with the songs I didn't enjoy. There we go. Fucking the chat spamming 6.7. I hate that number has been ruined. I'm not even saying the album's a 6.7 as a joke. That's genuinely the score I would give the fucking album, but then everyone says it's a goddamn joke. Yeah, the album has grown on me from a 6.3. We went from a low 6 to a high 6, kind of the same as Please Please Me, though I think I would put this above Please Please Me in the ranking. Yeah, solid album, okay album. It's decent. It's listenable, tolerable. Certainly not the best from the Beatles so far, an incredibly mixed bag, but one that I had a lot of fun talking about, and that's all that matters at the end of the day, is I had a fun time listening to this, even if I didn't love it. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think of this album down below and how it compares to other Beatles albums for you. You can see my previous re-listens of the Beatles albums, as well as my original reaction to this album, and all of their albums in a playlist somewhere around here. Massive thank you to Chivo for editing this video. Link to his album of the year will be down in the description. Like and sub if you haven't. We are on our way to 4K, and I will see you all whenever I next stream or upload. Bye bye.